faced with the threat of hundreds of
Hey, Claire has a little money. What can she do?
I tell you what, slow and steady wins the race. One investment at a time. You don't have to go fast.
Now I have millions. What can I do?
You need to put all of that in cash flowing assets. That is way too much money to have just laying around.
No, I'll just do rental arbitrage instead.
Another rental arbitrage sucker.
She should get on TikTok and give real estate advice.
My money don't jiggle jiggle, it folds. I like to see you wiggle wiggle, for sure. It makes me wanna dribble dribble. You know, riding in my Fiat, you really have to see it. 6'2" in a compact, no slack. But luckily the seats go back. I got a knack to relax in my mind, sipping some red wine. I like to see you.
Hey everybody, you're kicking it with the Homeboys. This is the Homeboys podcast. My name is Clint Wetherill. We've got a very exciting topic today. We are talking about your age and real estate investing.
Yeah, we're gonna cover what you should do when you have no money. You're just starting out. Maybe you're young out of college or just young in general and wanting to get into real estate. We're gonna cover what you should do. We're gonna talk a little bit about once you reach that beautiful middle age, maybe after your 20s, and you've got a little bit of savings, whether it's 401k or just money you've been able to save up, what you should do to get into real estate investing at that point, if that's when you're wanting to get into it. And then we're going to talk about once you're a little bit older and you've got just millions and millions of dollars.
Just sitting on piles of cash.
Piles of cash.
Just making it rain inside your own house.
Believe it or not, that's actually a problem for some folks. They've saved up their whole lives. They've got a lot of money, and they don't know what to do with it. And they get interested in putting it in real estate, but they don't know where to go. So we're going to cover that part as well. So three good topics.
His name is Scott Adams. I didn't give him the proper intro.
Oh, sorry.
He is my buddy. How are you doing, man? I've missed you.
Yeah, I've been all over United States. I did 4 states in one day by car. On a trip, not traveling from one place to another, like literally sightseeing. So
you got out west with your dad. It's a pretty cool trip.
Rode trains all over the Rocky Mountains, and it was neat. It was neat. I'm glad to be back. It's funny because this week in Indiana, those folks who are out there probably don't know this about Indiana, but the next week and a half is insane in Indiana. It's absolutely bonkers. All my family comes into town, and everybody's family comes into Indianapolis. Why don't you tell them why?
It's the 500, man.
The Indy 500. I bet there's people that don't even know what that is.
No, it's the biggest spectacle in racing. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a giant piece of real estate that was a 2.5 mile track.
Yep.
It's got 4 golf holes in the middle of it. It's crazy. I was just there last week. Our uniform company actually reached out and said, "Hey, we got a suite." So
I wondered who took you.
Yeah, it was.
Where was I?
I think that was when you were sick.
Oh yeah.
But went out there, got to meet Mario Andretti, the great Mario Andretti. Got his autograph. Really, really cool to see how humble and nice he was. Really nice.
Didn't he speak when one of our banks took us? PNC. Didn't he speak then?
There was somebody we left, I think, before a lot of those speakers.
Anyway.
But it was Chip Ganassi, the big team owner.
Yeah.
But no, the Indianapolis 500. It's a huge ordeal. It's really cool to see. But I've been to the actual race a few times. I don't have to go back. I mean, it's supposed to be 90 degrees, and man, when you're sitting out there on those metal grandstands, man, it's hot. And it's. I don't know. It's a lot of beep, 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 beep. And then
I've never
a minute
been.
Later, I've never been.
I can't. I'm not allowed to go. My grandmother's birthday we always celebrate it on the 500 weekend, and she's 90. She turns 96 this weekend, and so our family gets together to celebrate her 96 years. So I've never been able to go.
Well, first of all, I'm very I know your grandmother.
Yeah.
Very happy to celebrate her birthday with you. But when you said you weren't allowed to go, I was hoping that there was going to be some story back in the 90s of a shirtless Scott Adams sloshing around in mud. And
the last time I went for the pre-party stuff the nights before, my mommy picked me up at 3 a.m. because I was tired of all of my friends fighting other people.
I remember you telling me about
and
that. It's been a while since you told me that story.
I'm pretty sure I was like 38 or 39, not young and dumb. I was way too old to be out there. I called my mom at like age 38.
Come get me, Mommy.
3 a.m. I was like, Mom, I'm sorry, but you got to get out of bed and come get me. I'm done. And I've never been back.
I like going whenever it's like you're there part of like a hospitality thing before the race, because it's not as crazy. Like I went there, had a great meal. You know, like I said, got to meet Mario Andretti. That was pretty cool, and we got to walk through the garage area. But yeah, that's something unique about our city. It's good to have you back. You know, I missed you since you've been on vacation. We've been filming a few things today, and I'm like, man, we got the band back together, man. Like,
we're back in the zone.
Let's rock this thing.
All right. Well, let's dive into it then.
Let's do that. So yeah, we're talking about the your investment age, the age that you're getting into real estate, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about age, but you know, for this, we're kind of assuming that people are getting started, or different levels of their life. So we're talking kind of the young, the middle-aged, and some older folks.
And we're tying that to money, which doesn't always necessarily tie in. So the first one is if you're either young or you just don't have any money. You don't have to be young to not have any money, obviously, and to want to get into it. So if you're in your 30s or 40s and you're tired of your career and this 9-to-5 stuff, and you want to get into real estate, this first kind of explanation would apply to you too. Mm-hmm. So
for sure. Yeah. But we were both young, fresh out of college with no money.
Yep. So
why don't we start there? Because I think that we can really talk about most all of these stages. And I know I don't want to think that we're old. Maybe some of our viewers do think that we're old.
Oh, we're old.
We are, aren't we?
Yeah.
How the hell did that happen?
Yeah.
But I feel like that we can kind of relate to each of these, and we always preach about saving money and having equity in properties and being conservative. But at the end of the day, we started broke. Couldn't rub two nickels together.
Yep.
I didn't have anything. So let's dive in, man. Let's talk about it.
What I always say, as you know, is just do it. So there isn't one perfect plan for everyone to get started in real estate. However, they all start the same way, which is to just dive into it. I'm just going to throw out a few examples of what you can do. You can go get your real estate license, take that class. It doesn't cost very much. Do it in the evenings after your normal day job, and invest in yourself by learning just the normal real estate principles that you'll learn in that course. But most importantly, you'll get a license. You'll be able to then go to a real estate brokerage, and you'll be able to start soaking in info from the people around you. That's one way that you can do it. Another way is you can literally watch shows like ours and other shows like that. There's this book, The Millionaire Next Door, that really talks about ways to save by working really hard. If you're young and in your 20s and wanting to start out, you're going to have lots of energy, a lot more energy than us old folks have. So you could even get an evening job and just start saving that way. There's a lot of different paths. You could watch shows like ours. You could even get into wholesaling. We really crap on wholesaling a lot on this show, but there are some people who do it the right way. We don't just think wholesaling at its core is awful. We think that the way it's done by 99% of the people out there is unethical and wrong. But that 1% or however small percent it is that does it right by being honest about it, and that there's a place for that. So you could go in through wholesaling. There's this popular thing called rental arbitrage. We're not big believers in it, but what I do believe in is trying anything that you think might work. I don't mind people doing things that I disagree with.
We love hard work, man.
Hard work.
Dive in. It's a work ethic.
Hard work. Use hard money. Mm-hmm. You could even, that's the time to be risky. If you're willing to back it up with hard work and you want to borrow hard money, it's available to you. I know you're broke and you don't believe that, but if you find a property that has value in it and you could fix it up and flip it, you could find hard money for it. I don't care how broke you are. There's hard money out there for you.
My approach was sweat equity.
Yeah, it was.
I'm handy enough to be dangerous, so as I know this isn't sexy enough, sexy for a lot of people. I feel like trade work is not very sexy for some of the younger generation. But for me, I had a day job out of college. I was a sales rep, and I'd put my painting jeans on at night, and I'd end up in houses painting and doing some minor repairs. I loved it. Yeah. I've said many times on this show that I'd love to be back doing it because I had like some sense of peace with being in a property and put on some rock and roll music and kind of get lost in my thoughts, and it was very therapeutic for me. So, like you said, it's about just doing it. There is no one way to do it. You have to move forward. My path was fix and flip with the work being done, by me, and I started representing other people because I got my license and was representing other people doing the same thing. It was kind of a one-man GC realtor. There's lots of ways to do it. I needed to get started, so producing income was important to me.
Right.
So I think that's a little bit different than some of the other stages that we're going to be talking about. I quit my day job, so I had to have money. The true wealth in real estate has been found by you and by myself through holding, of real estate. But,
you can't start that way if you don't have any money.
Correct.
Well, you could find a way, but you're over leveraging, and it's not.
Well,
a good way
if I had kept my day job and said that I was going to keep my day job and just do this on the side, which we believe most of our listeners are going to do, they're going to have a day job.
Right.
They're going to do this on the side, and you know what? One day maybe it takes over and you don't have your day job, anymore. But for me, I had to do the fix and flip route in the beginning to build up a little bit of a nest egg, and then by accident, I got into holding of real estate because the market shifted and we couldn't sell our houses anymore. We had to hold them. And it took me 10 years to realize what a blessing, the Great Recession was.
Right.
I had all these houses that I bought for nothing. I wish I'd bought 10 times more.
I know.
But got all these houses for next to nothing. And then I've cashed a lot of them out along the way, and I didn't owe a nickel on them because I held them for 10 years and was aggressive at paying off debt, and it was very, very fruitful. So I agree with you. You say it on the show all the time. Just do it. There's no one way,
right,
to doing it, but you've got to dive in, and having someone that you can look up to. In real estate, I had several people that I looked up to that kind of got me going. Yeah. I think is key. I know you did too.
Yeah. So my story, I'll go through it real fast. It's my least favorite subject to talk about, but I got my real estate license during college. I took night classes to get my real estate license because I was very interested in it. And then I was lucky enough to be introduced to really the core group of big time investors in Indianapolis through family. And keep in mind, I grew up poor. I wasn't one of them. I had no money, and I was blessed to be able to be introduced to all these guys. And then the one guy who was doing it the worst way, the wrongest, took me under his wing. And so I got to see how not to do it, and I started doing it the wrong way. And by the wrong way, I mean I was buying ghetto houses for no money that they don't work for anyone. You can't buy garbage properties and fix them up and expect people to pay rents in those areas because they don't. It's just a constant tenant turn, and it doesn't work, and I'm not going to get into that. But I built up a portfolio of 100 of the worst, 100, not houses, 100 problems. And I got out of that, luckily. Learned a lot from doing that, and then started doing it the right way. So I was always a believer in long-term holding of real estate. I just didn't understand the core principle that you needed to own good properties in good areas and take good care of them. I was chasing higher returns, I could buy a house for 10 grand and put 10 grand in it and make $900 a month. Why wouldn't I? Well, because the tenant doesn't actually pay, right, and you constantly turn. So I chased that. It was a way to get in. I borrowed pretty heavily when I was young. I had lines of credit. Luckily, money was looser back then. But like we said at the beginning, hard money is available for folks, so they could even go at the route we did and try to be long-term holders from the start. It's hard to do. You're going to take on a lot of risk, but if you're willing to put in the work and the effort, maybe that's a way you do it. You start to build your portfolio of holdings that you use hard money to buy and then refi them out. Hopefully, if you're doing that, you probably need to have a day job too. So that's kind of my story, but at the core of what we're saying, if you're just wanting to get into this, you just got to dive in and try. You got to take a real estate class, watch shows like ours, reach out to people, start researching how sheriff sales work. I did that, and we talk about that. I did that in college. I'd be bored, and I went to the courthouse and started asking questions, and went to tax sales and just watched how that stuff happened. I'm a very curious guy, so I like to dive in and just look at how things work. So I just dove in and started looking at things and learned things. And then you meet people when you go to these things. Go to sheriff sales, go to tax sales. Just dive in. That's what we would say. I know it'll be scary and overwhelming. You'll be drinking from the fire hose of knowledge, and it'll be a lot coming at you, but it's a great way to start.
I think kind of to summarize that, I think saying don't lose sight of your long-term real estate goals by chasing quick money.
True. That's a good one.
You know, I wish I had someone beating that up upside my head whenever I first
It's a great
started.
pro tip.
You know,
That is a great pro tip.
you got to have a long-term strategy to being a real estate investor. I shouldn't say you got to. I mean, there's other things you get into. Like I said, you know, we're kind of down on the wholesaling world in general. Right now, my phone goes off literally 20 times a day because the amount of properties that I own, and people asking me, you know, will I be interested in a cash offer, and it just drives me nuts. I can't answer my phone if I don't have the number programmed in. I can't answer it because that's all it is. But
I lost it yesterday on a phone call, by the way. With that.
Oh, you know me, I like to screw with them big time.
I said this is literally the 300th phone call about this property, and I'm not exaggerating.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like they just pick a random property, and suddenly my phone rings for 6 months.
Right.
It's insane.
But you know, I know that there's a few people that do it kind of the right way, that they buy them at discount and then they sell them. Which
Sure.
you know, I got
or they represent to the seller. They
issue,
say,
you know, with that
the owner, they'll say, I'm a wholesaler. I got a ton of investors. Instead of taking it to a realtor, let me shop it to my people.
Right.
As long as you're honest with that, got no problem with it.
But you know, I really, really preach, you know, having a long-term plan. What's that long-term plan look like? I don't know.
Well, you're a
15
long-term
houses,
holder,
20,
though.
25, you know, then to get into some other stuff we can talk about. You know, here in a
But
little
let
bit.
me pause you. Your long-term plan does have one thing that is true to it, which is you're a long-term holder of real estate. Now, what does that
Always.
look like? How many? There's a lot of unknowns.
Teach their own.
But there is one part that is known about what you suggest everyone's long-term plan should be, which is to be a holder of real estate, valuable assets.
Yeah, we call out people on our weekly show more on real estate. We just got done filming one, and you know we just highlighted a friend of mine that I happen to play golf with a couple of days ago that owned one house, and you know we talked about, you know, how amazing his you know story is off of the one house that he owns. It's going to put both of his kids through college. It afforded him some, you know, home repairs, tax advantages, all of the things. So everyone's picture, you know, looks a lot different. But
That's a good point. If you can start with the idea of having one house, you'll be shocked, especially if you're young and you're doing this. Once that house is paid off and it's appreciating over time, you can use that house as a piggy bank. We don't suggest using your personal house ever as a piggy bank. We don't suggest over leveraging everything you have. But
We don't.
if you have even one house that's paid off, if you need to do home repairs to your own personal house, you can use that property as a piggy bank. It's got a tenant in it. You know, you're making money every month. It's okay to leverage that. If you want that house to pay for your kids' college, great. You can use that house to do that. It's amazing what a tool just one house can be. And then multiply that by hundreds of homes like we have and apartment complexes. And if you just start with that one house, before you know it, you could grow to the size of portfolios that we have. And just be conservative with paying them down, though. We just really believe in long-term holding of real estate and paying them down. So let's do the next up one, which is someone maybe middle-aged, which, believe it or not, is younger than us. I think middle-aged starts a little younger than us now.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Man, I'm too cool and hip to
I
be
know.
considered like middle age. Or
Well,
at
let's
least on
call
the other
this.
side of middle age.
Let's call this if you're in your 30s, you've got a good job, you're making income. This is a lot of people that reach out to us. You know, they've got a good job, but they want real estate on the side too, and they've got a little bit of savings. We hear from a lot of folks in that position. So let's speak to them, whether you're in your 30s to your 50s or even in your 20s. And you've got a little bit of savings and you want to own real estate, but you have no idea where to start. It's easy to buy stocks. You call up your financial advisor and you say, I want to invest, you know, and they handle it all for you. What would someone do who has 20 to 100,000 or more, and they're in their late 20s to early 50s, and they want to have their first property?
I want you to roll with this, man. You're, you know, I think that you kind of work within this demographic a little bit more within our office than I do, or this particular, you know, this particular strategy. So I'm going to get out of the way here.
Well, there's a very easy way for these folks to continue to do their job and to learn from the best of the best, which is to buy turnkey. Whether it's a group like us, we offer that here in Indianapolis. There's groups in every city that are amazing. And if people want to know questions on what groups we know in different cities, they can reach out to us, and we're happy to share the folks who we believe in different cities. But turnkey, and just for those who don't know what turnkey is, it's a property with a pretty bow around it that has a warranty, that's been inspected, that's freshly rehabbed, and it's rented and ready to go for you. So you hit the ground running. And these groups are really good at helping you obtain your financing. They know where to send you to get, you know, the cheapest bank financing. And all you need is a down payment. You know, the average house, I would say, is between 150 and 400,000. You know, we believe in kind of that lower edge of those numbers when you're looking for good properties. So all you would need is 20 to 50,000, depending on what price point and you can just pick up a house from one of the best groups, professionals who do this all day, every day, anywhere in the nation, and you got to do it in a cash flowing state. And all you got to do is dive in, start meeting these groups, seeing who you mesh with, looking at the properties that they offer, and they'll manage it for you, and you will learn so much. At the same time, you'll be getting a good property at good value that's already up and running. It's a great way to hit the ground running and to take very little work, but to also be able to learn along the way.
Turnkey is a great route. I think, you know, looking at this demographic, this is kind of where you're really getting your feet underneath of you, and then you start to build your portfolio. Yeah. You know, you're graduating from having a few houses, call it up to 5, but then really establishing yourself. Turnkey's not the only way. We believe in it.
For sure.
You know, we see it, you know, we know other markets that are great. But, you know, there's some people that decide to do it themselves, like I used to do in the beginning, you know, fix it up themselves and, you know, add to their portfolio. There's ways of doing it. But the turnkey is a great route. There's markets that we believe in. We'd be happy to help, you know, direct people.
You can easily do this on your own. So you can go get a realtor. They'll help you find a house that's, you know, for good value. They'll help you understand the comparable sales so that you know you're getting value. And then you can find a good property manager that will help you understand what the rental income will be, what to plan on for deferred maintenance. So you can build your own team and do it on your own. The reason I really always suggest turnkey is just because it's all done for you. The people who rehab that home stand behind it and already have that property management in place. They have a lot on the line to make sure that your property returns, performs the way that they hope that it would, and they can help you repeat that. But it is not the only way. There's a lot of other ways you can do this. It's just the easiest way. That's really
one caveat. You know, pro tip: be very careful of which turnkey company you go with. Yeah. You know, one of the easiest things you could do is ask, "How long have you been in business?" You don't see the people that have been in the business doing, you know, providing turnkey homes for 10 years that have been doing it the wrong way. If you've been doing it 10 years, you know, they know what they're doing. It's safe to get in there. You know, I mean, if it's somebody that says, "Oh, you're actually my third turnkey house," I'd be cautious. You got to really have someone that has a built-up reputation that can stand by it. You got somebody that just got into it. They probably don't have the money to even warranty your house. So be very, very cautious. Do your homework on the turnkey provider that you reach out to. That brings me to our last, strategy, or last age range, I should say. And for our example here, we're going to talk about older people that are just sitting on piles of cash, not knowing what to do with it.
You just mentioned it. 1031 exchanges. Believe it or not, a large percentage of our clients are folks who have saved all of their lives, and they're our age or even older, and they're to the point where they don't want their money in the stock market, or they sold their one rental house and they got a giant income of cash coming in from it, and they don't know how to get into more real estate. They want to own real estate, but they don't know how. They've worked their whole lives, they've saved, they've been smart, and they're just now realizing, you know what, I need some cash flowing assets for my retirement. Right. Otherwise, I'm just going to be pulling money out of my market all of the time. I need actual assets that cash flow. I turn back to turnkey. It's a system that's built for them, and it's a system that works, and especially if they're going to be buying multiple houses, you're able to work all over the country, spread out your risk, work with a handful of select groups that you believe in, that you can test them out with one property here and there. But I go back to turnkey for that person as the number one way to do it.
I think so, because a lot of times, in this demographic, you're not seeing people that are wanting to get into rehab situations. A lot of times. However, one thing that Scotty and I have gotten into much more, later into our careers is development. So. I say that with extreme caution, because development carries mountains of, oh crap, I'm bankrupt risk. So be exceptionally, be exceptionally cautious. I mean, there's people that have been in real estate and done it successfully for many years, and then got in over their head on development, and lost most, if not all, of what they had. But that could. For us, we completed, a mixed-use commercial apartment building not too long ago. We have 100, and tell me if I'm saying these wrong, 135 townhomes going up in northern
I always get
Indiana.
it wrong. I think it's 134 is the final
134. We've got 50 doors that we're building with some partners that are good friends of ours down in southern Indiana. Shout out to Rob and Jason down there. So we're happy to be partnering on that deal. We're just getting that, put together. And that's a good. It's another good pro tip. If you're going to be doing it, you got to partner with the right people. I happen to know this realtor in southern Indiana most of my entire life, and the other guy, Jason. Who's technically the builder. I even played in a band with him, before. But
these guys are as proven as they come. They are the experts in that, part of town. I told them when we first were meeting with them, I said, you don't need us. And the truth is, we don't need them. They don't need us. What a great partnership when neither really need each other.
We're helping facilitate, some of the back end stuff and some of the planning stuff. Sure. But Rob's been in with the city, and Jason knows building inside and out. Grew up in the flooring business, and then became a large builder.
These are commercial deals. You're saying that you can start looking at commercial projects, whether you develop
anybody can do it,
or you buy them.
There's a lot of risk, and you've got to be surrounded by the right people. Talking about builders, you get into development. I mean, a builder can be a license to steal your money, and good luck getting it. So you've got to really know. Who you're dealing with. A guy that we have built a lot of our stuff up here. I've been in Bible study with him for crying out loud for a decade. And shout out to him. He had a bad accident, last week. Rick Beavers, our dear friend, and he's at home recovering from surgery after a bad accident. But you've got to surround yourself with the right people.
I would more suggest that this kind of person isn't looking to get into become a developer. They're more looking for a commercial property. So you could go to developers and find a commercial property that's available. In fact, we had an apartment building in southern Indiana that we loved. It was a forever hold. We were going to hold it forever, and one of our clients had a 1031 exchange that he needed filled, and so we sold it to him. one of our best clients. So
I love him dearly.
Yeah, and we
What a
really
guy.
care about him personally. So when he comes knocking and says, "Yeah, I'd like that," you kind of have to.
Well, he's a great example for this. I mean, he is. He's a little older. Got a lot of money.
Right.
And his money came from being a conservative real estate investor for many, many years, and now he can walk into a room and buy out everybody 10 times over, and you look at him,
Never know it.
Never know it. And those are the people that that Scotty and I applaud. We're not big into the flash, and getting to hang out with with Myra and this guy we're talking about. I mean, he's such a good, humble man, and what he's created for generations of his family is just such an amazing.
He built it doing what we said today. He built that whole thing. We're not saying we taught it to him. He came way before us. He was investing conservatively way before us. He would buy a house, he would get it up and going and cash flowing, and he would sit on it, he would pay it down, and he would let it appreciate. He would make sure the mortgage got paid down. He would take good care of it. These were good properties, and before you know it, he had so many of them that he then moved on to owning Arby's and FedEx sorting facilities. And before you know it, can snowball.
FedEx is one of his tenants.
Right.
You do the math on that. FedEx is one of his tenants. And he started just like this. And like I said, he's so humble. It's amazing what good decisions like this particular client, did. How you end up. He's such an inspiration. We should have him on the show sometime. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, that's kind of.
I hope that covers it for everyone. I know this doesn't cover every single situation, but hopefully, it kind of encompasses each general area that you can pull from, depending on where you are, and maybe give you a better idea of how you can get from A to Z. And if you have questions on this stuff, we're always.
What if
available.
What if I wanted to start with nothing and be a millionaire in 60 days? What would you say?
I would say you are in the wrong room. Kiss my butt. See you later. Don't watch this show. In fact,
Correct.
I don't have any interest in even talking to you. Goodbye.
And that's the issue that Scotty and I deal with. I know it's not the most sexy thing in the world, but you know what? It's been very great for us. We've been very conservative in what we do. We've seen the fruits of our labor, and it's real, and it doesn't have to be that difficult.
This is not get rich quick stuff. This is get rich for sure stuff. It just takes time.
I like that.
You want to trademark it?
You just
trademark
it's
it.
not get rich quick stuff. It's get rich for sure stuff. Wow, man.
Yeah.
Hit up our attorney.
Yeah.
Get the intellectual
I'm a
property
guru
going
now.
on that. You are.
I'm a guru. I'm
Need
going on tour.
Get our money gun out and start firing it up in the air. Well, anyhow, that's our show for today. We thank you for watching the Homeboys podcast. We love doing this. Continue to watch us. Be conservative in all you do, and be careful. Make sure you're aligned with the right people. Till next time, happy investing.